Hello, Don here again. I'll identify myself. I have several videos recording, and I'm a retired psychologist, and the subject of my videos are typically cautions and precautions, but also information regarding various subjects in the field of psychotherapy. Today, my issue is that of anxiety. Treatment for anxiety disorders, symptoms of anxiety disorders, precautions regarding treatment for anxiety disorder. I'll start out with a couple of things. First of all, one must distinguish between fear and anxiety. Fear is typically described as apprehension, fear, avoidance of something that is realistically a threat. It could be a person who's endangering you, or living in a dangerous environment, or a threatening storm. There is something to fear. It creates a lot of symptoms of nervousness, tension, apprehension. You can call it fear. Along with it goes maybe heart palpitations, sweating, breathing problems, a feeling of ill health. Now, anxiety is typically described formally as symptoms similar to fear, where there's apprehension, heavy breathing, maybe heart palpitations, a sense of doom. And the source of that feeling and the symptoms, the source is unknown. So a person with an anxiety disorder often doesn't know what it's about. It's an overwhelming sense of discomfort. So I bring this first point. Those who have an anxiety disorder, I'm not talking about fear now, dealing with fear of hurricanes or storms, or that's another issue and not the subject of this. Persons with anxiety disorders typically have what they'll describe sweats, discomfort, can't sleep, and heart palpitations. Now, the reason I bring this subject up, as I do in many of my videos, I point out the need for medical assessment. Because in my experience in treating people with anxiety disorder, they do have symptoms, and the physical symptoms, sweating is one thing, heavy breathing, problems catching their breath, that's one thing. But when they say heart palpitations or heart's beating too fast, it's not in proper rhythm. This, to me, means that that person should be checked out for a heart condition before they, or along with their treatment for the anxiety. Because people who have heart palpitations, arrhythmia, heart fibrillation problems will also say they are overcome with a sense of sweating, heavy breathing, fear of doom. So one must question whether a person with anxiety is troubled with a heart disorder and should in fact be treated for a heart condition and for the symptoms that go along with the heart condition, or whether the person with an anxiety disorder is getting heart symptoms, and even in that case, extreme anxiety might cause a heart condition. So treatment. Typically, a common treatment would be for a person with anxiety to see a psychiatrist, and that psychiatrist would be complete in his treatment and evaluation if he said, well, let's get your heart checked out, and would do basic heart checks, blood pressure, heartbeat, pulse, and maybe a treadmill or whatever the newer types of tests are, to make sure that that person isn't in fact dealing with a heart condition and wasting time seeking treatment. Not wasting times, but in addition to seeking treatment for the anxiety and the physical and psychological symptoms, should be in fact treated for a heart condition. Now, regarding treatment, if it is determined that it's not a heart condition and it is a psychological fear, there are several types. In the simplest level, a person just feels uncomfortable, doesn't want to go too many places. I don't really feel like going to the show or to the movies or to the theater or to the mall. In the worst of situations, a person says, I can't go to the meeting or to the synagogue or church or to the mall. I'm staying here, because the person who gets in those situations has an overwhelming sense of doom. And I'll point this out. I'm talking now about people who have been cleared of heart conditions, and hopefully they have been, and now are in treatment for anxiety disorder. My experience is that the person who has this fear of going into, let's just take a shopping mall or a supermarket, their sense is that they're going to become overwhelmed, not just uncomfortable. They have a sense, frequently have a sense that they're going to drop dead, that they're going to die under those circumstances. I have found this and I'm talking now from a clinical perspective with patients that I've dealt with. So I can't talk in terms of hundreds or thousands of people. I'm talking in terms of what might and best be checked out. And that should be dealt with. In fact, sir or ma'am, are you afraid that you're just going to die inside that mall? And sometimes you'll get the answer, yes, I think that's what's going to happen. So treatment. For a person with anxiety of, let's say, going various places, I can go to the yard, but I can't go down to the corner store. And I could never go to the supermarket, and for sure would never go into a shopping mall. There's what's called desensitization, where gradually a therapist or whoever the social worker, counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist is, mental health counselor, whoever it is, works with them to, well, let's see if we can get you to step outside for a few minutes. Let's see if we can get you down to the corner store. And the point is, they must take that first step out the door. Okay, I'm out the door, I'm going back in. No, you have to go out the door and stay there until the anxiety is gone. That is, they didn't die on the spot. Gee, I made it out the door and I didn't die. Second step would be go to the corner store, gas station, convenience store. Okay, I'm in there, I'm going back out now. No, go in and they must stay until they realize that they're not going to die there. And they, wait, I didn't die. So from there, they can go up several steps to the point where they can go to a shopping mall and spend the afternoon. That's called desensitization. A more severe form, and sometimes a more effective form, is what's called flooding. Listen, you don't like to go outside? No. You don't like to go to the corner store? No. What's the worst thing you'd like to do? What's the worst thing you can do? Oh, I can never go to that super Walmart that has appliances and groceries and food and clothing and drugstore and everything inside. I'd never make it even in the door. So flooding would be a therapist who does flooding, and this is what I've done on occasion. Let's start at the top. Let's go to Walmart. Let's go to whatever it is. There was Kmart's at the time. And they must go in with, and I'll go in with you. Oh, I can't. All right, I'm in the door. I'm going to go out back outside. No, please stay with me. And as long as they have some support, you go with the person. You go inside. All right, I'm inside. I went here. I'm going back. No, let's go take the next step. Let's go to the meat counter. Oh, gee, I'll never make it. And I'll just give you one example. I'm not saying this is the way it should be done all the time. I'm going to give you one example of how a person with extreme, it's called agoraphobia, when they're afraid to go out in public. And I think the term literally means afraid of the market or the marketplace. A lady who was afraid to go came to me because she had a high school reunion coming up. I think a 20th high school reunion. And it was out of town, And I'll never get in a car and make it across bridges and over highways and into a crowd of people. I'll never get there, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And she wanted to go to the reunion. And I said, well, we don't have much time here. The reunion's in 10 days. So I asked her what her worst fear was. And at the point, there was a supermarket called, I won't name the supermarket, it no longer exists, but it became like a supermarket, like a super Walmart is now, that sold everything from car batteries to TVs to food to clothing to drugstore, everything. I walked in with her. She said, okay, this is enough. Now we'll do something next. I says, keep on going. And she kept on going. And this may sound kind of mean, but I was confident that she would get through this. And so I started saying, are you dying yet? Oh, stop it, stop this, just stop picking on me now. And then she goes, next, you feel like you're going to drop dead yet? Because I was very confident that with no heart condition, no terrible physical illnesses, because she had been checked out for that it wasn't going to happen. Then eventually she started looking at me and laughing. She started to find humor, and I guess what was somewhat of a macabre making fun of her. And I said, well, what's the worst thing that could happen here? Oh, I'll never get through the checkout line. I'll never get through the checkout line. She made it through the store with me at her side. She filled up her grocery cart, and she said, well, I got to get to the checkout line. And with people in front of her, people behind her. And I knew she made it there. I walked out the door. I said, call me tomorrow for the next appointment. And I left, fully confident that she had been flooded with her anxiety and overcame it at every step. She overcame it when she walked in. I can't make it. She got over that point. She went to the meat counter, anxiety, stayed there. She didn't die. She went shopping for other items, didn't die. She came to the checkout. I was very confident that she had waited out with mild anxiety. And she called me the next day and thanked me. I don't want to use this as the example for treating everybody. My point is here that anxiety has to be properly diagnosed because heart conditions and anxiety overlap. And in fact, recent literature has shown that some people who are diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, in fact, have a heart condition because people with heart conditions, especially AFib, have severe anxiety, sweating, breathing problems, and that should not be mistaken for an anxiety disorder. And an person with anxiety disorder should be cleared of a heart condition so that these methods of either desensitization or flooding can take place. Point is that a person who has a fear of going into a certain place has to go there and sit there until they realize they're not going to die and the fear is over with. Is that a cure? I'm not sure. She made it to the reunion. She thanked me for it. Hey, subscribe or put a yes or a no or a like or a dislike here, and we'll catch you on the next one. Maybe on autism, I think. There's stuff on autism that's just getting a little bit strange. Thank you.